G'day there, ladies and ledians. Welcome back to Pokemon Links, where we connect dots with theories. Today, I want to talk about a topic that at first glance seems unimportant, but has more to it than you think. The topic being gases. Now, there's probably a fart joke I can make, but I can't quite smell it. In any case, we can be mature about the topic and learn a few things as we go exploring the topic. Now, when we're talking about gases, we are talking about one of the three main states of matter. And so gases will include atmospheric gases, smoke, smog, fog, and so on. We won't be talking about scents such as stench or sweet scent, perhaps another day. But what do the moves and abilities relating to gases mean in the universe of the Pokemon world? That's what we are going to uncover today. The first gas I want to look at comes from the white smoke ability. This ability prevents the loss of stats from the opponent. A very protective gas, that's for sure. Some stat reductions could be considered psychological, such as Intimidate, Fake Tears, or Leer, while others are more physical, such as String Shot or Rock Smash. There isn't really an explanation that would cover all the different stat reductions, but let's move on and circle back to the smoke. Mist is a move that prevents status conditions for a couple turns. Being immune to status elements means a fair amount. From top to bottom, some effects to counter the status effects include antibodies, muscle relaxant, promotion of skin growth, increase in body temperature, clearing of the mind, and energy revitalization. Being surrounded by mist, you would feel super healthy and protected, that's for sure. But those are both white gases. What about black? We have smoke screen and haze. That's about it. Haze and white smoke have similar but different properties. They could be closely related, but nothing is conclusive. At the moment, the best we can say is that there's definitely something in the air, or perhaps that lemons in the Pokemon world react to a variety of gases. With the poison type, we get a few more gases. Poison gas is pretty straightforward, but it is different enough to smog. The main difference being that smog does damage while poison gas does not, which is pretty peculiar. Like, both are negatives to breathe in. They are both very poisonous, but only one of them hurts way more relatively. Compared to poison gas, smog seems like a more potent poison, but it doesn't count as a battery poison. I know a lot of this is part of the game mechanics, but it seems like there is perhaps a middle ground between poison and battery poison. That's pretty cool, I guess. We do have another poison type gas move, and that is Clear Smog. Instead of poisoning, it resets stats similar to haze. Now we have white smoke, haze, and Clear Smog that are all very close in their effects. I think that is enough to say that stat changes are a result of the respiratory system. Whether physical or psychological, stat changes are caused by disruption in target's breathing. Or perhaps it's related to oxygenated blood flow. It means every time you use something like Mud Slap, the foe's heart is maybe skipping a beat, or they let out a gasp as they are shocked. I think that's pretty cool, but there are more gases. Neutralizing gas comes from Coughing's family. This family is interesting enough to maybe get a future vid about them, but for now, we're talking about the ability. So, a gas that suppresses other abilities is pretty powerful. Some abilities are so entwined with a Pokemon's physicality that neutralizing them is akin to a disability. For example, Kakino's color change. Disturbing this effectively removes its stealth capabilities. Slacking's Truant being turned up means that it goes hyperactive, putting a huge strain on its body as it isn't designed for that. And so if we are going with the hypothesis that oxygenated blood is responsible for some unique Pokemon biology, perhaps there are individual organs that innately trigger abilities. Like say if every Pokemon had a spot in their body where it can have between 1 and 3 abilities. If that organ didn't receive enough oxygenated blood, could potentially turn off. And so sending out a coughing is like turning off the selective organ of everyone in their proximity. Very dangerous indeed. Lastly, I wanted to cover fog a bit from the games. Now there are routes where there is very dense fog. The neat part though is that the fog disappears on your birthday. It is both pleasant and mysterious, so let's try to figure it out. Since it only disappears without the defog HM on a split day, every day in the year is a little bit different. Now, on a large cosmological scale, the relationship between the Sun and the Earth changes over time. On a smaller scale though, we can say that each year is roughly the same in terms of the position of the Sun. It changes throughout the year, but it's enough of a pattern to be predictable to us. However, each day would have a small difference even if we don't notice it, and so the Sun has an ever so slight change in light or heat every day. This has me thinking of magnets. For those that may not know, the magnetic poles of our planet slowly shift. At one point what we know as north and south on a magnet was reversed. This does take a very long time though, but it does shift. What's cool about it though is that when a magnet is created, it is synced up to the magnetic poles of the time. It becomes a time capsule of Earth's magnetic field. And so let's put these together. When you take your first breath as a baby human in the Pokemon world, you get attuned to that day's uniqueness. Now, we don't know if the atmosphere is the same in the Pokemon world, so it could be an element we don't know of. In any case, there is a certain composition of elements in the atmosphere. And so, like a magnet of the same polarity, when it becomes this day, your birthday, the fog in the air gets repelled by you. On every other day, the polarity of your body is not synced up, not the same, and so the fog is either ignored by you, or attracted to you in certain locations. That sums up a lot of the gases in the Pokemon world. Let me know if I missed any or if you disagree with my deductions. I would like to thank you for watching. I'll see you later.